It is worth noting the decor, as it consists of a very eclectic mix of items from various eras. The thing is, actually, the garden is the heart of this estate. To be more precise, it is it. Here we see more modern architectural finds. This is quite a large. Hello, friends. Today we are in the Algarve, which is in the south of Portugal. Here, we will get to know a very interesting site, a project called the Monte Kardina estate. The history of this place begins in 1976, literally just after the fall of Salazar's dictatorship, when the Swedish, or more precisely, the Odesian Baron Detlev von Rosen arrives here and purchases a fairly large plot of 60 hectares. At that time, there was nothing here, but Detlev always wanted to be a farmer, always wanted to be a gardener, and he literally started creating this garden from scratch. Actually, the garden is the heart of this estate. To be more precise, it is its foundation. For many years, Detlev von Rosen has been bringing various seedlings from different countries in suitcases and bags, planting them here to create this wonderful garden, which over the past nearly 50 years has literally transformed into a cultural forest. But at the very beginning, there was only this remarkable oak, which is, in fact, the plant dominant of the Monte Kardina estate. It is obvious that you cannot spend much time in the garden if there is nowhere to stay. And the first building that appeared here is this small guest house, which has an area of only 25 square meters. It is indeed very small, but it contains almost all the essentials. A small bedroom with a fireplace, by the way, and also a second room that combines both a kitchen and a toilet. In general, all the other necessary functions. To be honest, when you are in the Algarve, which is the warmest region of Portugal, it never gets cold even in winter, so you spend most of your time outdoors, that is, tending to and nurturing your garden. But after hard work, it is natural to want to refresh oneself. And the second building in this estate is this wonderful swimming pool, which has been constructed so solidly that it has hardly undergone any changes and has even withstood a few minor earthquakes that occasionally occur in this region. It should be noted that gardening in the Algarve is a melting challenge, as the region is quite dry and there is always a certain shortage of water. Therefore, of course, the result that we see now is simply astonishing. Here, in addition to decorative and botanical plants, such as some wonderful flowers, there are also fruit trees and even a whole vegetable garden, which currently mainly grows flowers, for example, roses. However, the current owners also grow tomatoes here. As for fruit trees, there are also feijoas and several nut trees. In general, you definitely won't starve here. Of course, this multi-level, absolutely diverse garden creates a huge number of cozy corners where you can sit and essentially do whatever you like. To read a book, drink a glass of wine, or simply enjoy the chirping of birds, the rustling of leaves, and the blue sky. The main building of the estate has a layout typical of a classical fazenda, meaning it is completely symmetrical. In the middle, there is a block with communal spaces, which includes the kitchen, and the kitchen furniture has been preserved since that time. These cabinets are made of mahogany, just like the countertop, and even the fluorescent lights have remained from that time. And as you can see, they have held up beautifully. Here is the dining room, here are the living rooms, and then we proceed to the library. And, of course, there are also various technical rooms here. The left wing is designated for guests. There is a smaller guest bedroom there, as well as the main bedroom of the guest wing. And it has access to the garden right by this historic oak tree, from which the garden began. The right wing belongs to the owners of this estate. There is also one of the bedrooms, quite interestingly decorated in terms of both color and furniture. It offers a beautiful view of the dry part of the garden. And also here, in this king, there is a bathroom and a master bedroom, again with access to the garden. As for the decorative aspect, All the rooms are adorned with a vast amount of art. Various styles, various techniques, various directions, even various geographies of the authors. There are Swedish artists, local artists, and even Russian artists. It is also worth noting the decor, as it consists of a very eclectic mix of items from different eras, crafted in various techniques. The fact is that the current owners of this estate are very passionate about collecting such artifacts, purchasing them at auctions and also at flea markets. And that is why I always highly recommend, if you want to find some unique item, if you want to find something magical, from the word to tell, to narrate, then be sure to visit flea markets, especially those that locals go to, rather than those that are advertised in tourist guides. Then you will be able to find something truly absolutely amazing. And, of course, it is worth noting how wonderfully these items coexist together. Items from different eras and styles coexist within a single interior, becoming a collective storyteller of history, place, and their origins. By the way, some architecture specialists claim that this villa has a Palladian structure. Of course, I won't argue with them. Yes, indeed, Palladio paid great attention to symmetry. Perhaps the columns that support the terrace awning are reminiscent of Palladio. Of course, I must note the fact that it has long been the case that country houses, such as these estates and manor houses, have the ability to transform over time. And this house was no exception. A gallery was added to it. This happened somewhat later. It opens on two sides, meaning it has glazing on two sides. And, accordingly, this room is very spacious, which is undoubtedly a great advantage for showcasing art. It is also present here. There are also a number of items that were purchased in various countries. Here, there is Brazilian modernism, as well as later items that have already become classics. For example, a reupholstered jackwood sofa by Jasper Morrison. This room is also used for receptions. There is a grand piano here, and it provides access to both sides of the garden, leading directly to the dry garden area. And there, a very interesting story was later organized by a modern architect, featuring platforms, decking at various levels, and concrete benches that have lighting. From here there is quite a nice view of the ocean, as we are indeed located on the coast of the Atlantic Ocean. And then we see palm trees that have absolutely some magical skirts. I have never seen such a number of palms in such a form anywhere. They are literally like living magical beings from some Middle-earth. The most modern, latest building in this complex is the so-called rose-colored house. And here we recognize the features of functionalist architecture. To be honest, this house reminds me somewhat of a building by Louis Barragan. He is the second Pritzker Prize laureate, an architect from Mexico. Perhaps it is due to both the linear volumes and the color palette. The house is painted in slightly different shades of pink, which undoubtedly adds to its charm. Here we see, of course, more modern architectural solutions. It features quite large, one might say, panoramic glazing. These are windows and doors, meaning there is a penetration of the interior into the exterior and back again. Literally seamless. First, we enter a vast public space, where we are greeted by a gerudin on the Ishim carpet. A gerudin is a special table that never has chairs. It's served in the entrance areas, in the vestibules, so that knights could lay down their swords, armor, helmets, and so on. In fact, the origin of the word is owed to the Latin hero, which means war. Here, the warriors left their, so to speak, belongings. Next, we proceed to a spacious, bright living room. There are many items from various eras here. This includes vintage pieces from the 1970s as well as more classical forms. And, of course, absolutely different materials are used. I really like that there are also many cozy corners here where you can either read a book, perhaps play cards with friends, or have lunch. And for this, there is a large round table in the right part of this living room, as well as a rectangular table directly next to the kitchen, possibly for more formal dining occasions. The kitchen is essentially recessed and hidden in a separate room, which is separated by a bar counter where, accordingly, one can also enjoy interesting drinks with friends, or simply have breakfast, as is commonly done. And, of course, this entire space is also quite extensively adorned with art of various directions. Here, there are graphics, architectural drawings, and some wood carving. I really liked The Last Supper, and the canvas of classical painting. I mean in terms of technique. Well, of course, this is echoed by the lighting decoration, which undoubtedly serves the function of illumination during dark hours, but these chandeliers themselves, especially the one made of cast glass, also carry a very powerful decorative function. Of course, in pairs, such items always look very appealing. We pass through a small wardrobe, private quarters. Here is the bedroom, featuring 2 dressing tables, presumably for a lady and perhaps for a gentleman, or for the gentleman to do a bit of work on the computer. A vintage headboard is used for the bed, and this vintage headboard is attached to the wall. This is a very good move. Instead of buying some old bed, buy an old headboard, fix it to the wall, and place a modern box spring with a good mattress. There is also an exit through huge glass doors to a small patio, allowing one to perhaps read a book in the fresh air before bed, or to enjoy a cup of coffee in the morning without getting changed. And my favorite, quite literally, calling card of this house is the huge bathroom. Here, there is both a double sink and a jacuzzi bath right under the window, again with a view of this garden, as well as a shower cabin, again with a huge transparent wall behind which you can see this lush greenery. Very interesting finishes. Local Algorian limestone is used on the floor. In fact, it is used on the floor everywhere except in the bedroom, where we see parquet flooring. And what is very interesting is that the tiles have a slightly different irregular format and also a slightly different finish. That is, in some places, there is a matte and very delicate polishing, while in others, there is what is called chedariushchaya, which refers to a more structured surface and consequently a more matte finish. The walls are finished with micro-cement, but in the shower cabin, small format tiles produced locally are used, which were made specifically for this project, with Moroccan zellige serving as their prototype. And here, if you look closely, there is quite an interesting layout because it has a gradient from the center. That is to say, the intensity of the color becomes more saturated from the center, and, of course, the bench is a very good find for the shower, even if it is not used as a hammam. It's always convenient to sit down, rub your heel, or simply enjoy the flow of water and the view of the lush greenery outside the window. Naturally, when we talk about the architecture of functionalism, it is impossible not to mention the exploited roof. There is one here too. It is also a kind of lounge in the sun or a space for sunbathing, if you like. There is a bar and various seating areas. It is worth noting, by the way, the Chilean rocking chairs. They are very comfortable to sit in and, importantly, easy to get up from. They have a very interesting design. Be sure to consider them for your terrace. To access this exploited roof, a staircase has been added. It has a very unusual structure, and it was specially, by the way, aged, meaning it was deliberately brought to a state of rust in order to look as organic as possible in this context. Right under this staircase is a pond with water lilies and koi carp. And of course, the murmuring water of a small waterfall can soothe a weary traveler. From the entrance, or more precisely, the driveway area. The house is painted yellow. There are a couple of notable decorative elements here. This is a piece of slab, essentially a cut-off from that very algorithmic limestone, which is installed as a picture. On the wall, it looks quite expressive. Here, the direction to the north is laid out in traditional Portuguese calcada pavement, so you can be sure of where the sun will rise or position yourself in the best direction from a feng shui perspective. Here, to the right of this entrance group, from these wonderful gates, is the so-called stable. This is a transformed historic stable building. There is now also a guest house here. Unfortunately, It is closed. I cannot show you inside, but I really like such transformations when a utilitarian building becomes a residential one. By the way, Baron Detlev and Rosen paid great attention not only to the garden, but also to the modern innovative technologies of that time. For example, he built the first private water tower. Here, a completely modern water supply was established, to which we are now, in a sense, all accustomed. This building attracted the attention of all the local residents. It looks very textured, reminiscent of an old Roman tower, but considering that it is constantly being consumed by the local green inhabitants, it appears no less textured for that. Another interesting point is related to the name Monte Kardina. The fact is that the von Rosen family owned an estate in Estonia that bore the same name, Kardino. So when our Detlev arrived here in southern Portugal and bought this plot of land, he saw the mountain that is nearby and decided that this estate would be called Monte Kardino, meaning Mountain of Kardino or Kardino Mountain, thus paying homage to his roots. Another object of innovation that caught the attention of Baron Detlev and Rosen is the so-called Buckminster Fuller spheres. It was believed that at a sufficiently large volume, they become lighter than air and begin to levitate. In the 1980s and 1990s, this idea began to receive attention again, and such structures started to appear. Moreover, they are now quite well known to us, as they are used particularly in glamping. This is a historical building, one could say, because we see that it is designed quite differently, and it was used as a mini orangery. When you walk through this estate, you find an endless number of different cozy corners and some very interesting angles. This includes both a bamboo grove and these wonderful opuntias, some of which even bear fruit. They are edible and are sometimes referred to as Indian figs. And here is the beautiful view of the orange grove. There are also countless places where you can find solitude, practice yoga, reflect on your thoughts, and truly relax, because the Algarve is almost exclusively meant for rest and peaceful rejuvenation. I highly recommend that you come here, as Monte Kardina can be visited as a guest, where you can rent a cottage and spend wonderful days enjoying the garden, buildings, and decor. Of course, with the beautiful weather. I highly recommend you definitely do this. I will leave a link in the description so you can book and treat yourself to a wonderful holiday. Friends, I hope you enjoyed our journey today and our review. If so, please write something nice, make sure to like it, and of course, share this video with your friends. This will help us and possibly inspire them for their next trip to the south of Portugal. I would also like to remind you that I have a Telegram channel where we share our findings in architecture and design on a daily basis, as well as travel experiences. Thank you. Goodbye. See you on the next project or in the next journey.